This is the Ferrari Testarossa. And it's a fraud. That's right, the 1980s supercar icon, the movie star, the TV star, the car everyone wanted to drive, and the car everyone wanted to see. Its Pininfarina lines made it a mainstay of every teenager's wall. Not just a poster, but a dream. A dream that one day, they might be able to own an icon. But with every good dream, there's a splash of nightmare. And the story of Ferrari's fake supercar is no different. The Testarossa can trace its roots back to the 365 GT4 BB. The BB was a car of its time. Following Lamborghini's release of the mid-engine Miura, Ferrari wasn't far behind. The 365 used the V12 from the Daytona GT car, but with one big difference. The cylinder banks moved from 60 degrees to 180. The first time a flat 12 was used in a Ferrari, but it wouldn't be the last. Now, when you think of flat engines, you probably think of a Subaru or a Porsche. A Ferrari maybe isn't your first thought, until the 365 GT4 BB came along. Now, even the all-powerful Google will have you believing that BB stands for Berlinetta Boxer, Berlinetta meaning little saloon, and Boxer for the engine. But the 365 didn't have a Boxer engine. The problem with this meaning is the fact that the car is not powered by a Boxer engine, but a 180-degree flat 12 engine. From a mechanical standpoint, the difference is remarkable and clearly noticeable in the Boxer's crankshaft, which looks different and seems to push the pistons against each other, hence the name. Though it was not correct, Ferrari still continued to use the BB abbreviation as Berlinetta Boxer. Now, there are apparently two stories that point to the true meaning of the BB moniker. From a mechanical point of view, this could be the case, as Bilibero translates to dual camshaft in Italian. The Ferrari 365 BB had twin overhead camshafts, 2 per cylinder, and the fact that they were belt-driven instead of chain-driven introduced another new development. This was stated by the engineer of the project. The other angle is a little more dramatic. A far more idyllic story would be the one where the BB stands for Brigitte Bardot, the iconic French actress and singer. During development of the Ferrari 365, engineers started referring to the car with Brigitte Bardot's acronym, which was BB. This was because they considered the prototype to be exceptionally beautiful, like Bardot herself. Ferrari thought naming a car after a woman was simply not done, and thus stuck with the Berlinetta Boxer meaning. Outside of the naming controversy, the 365 was lightning fast. Tested after its launch, the BB could hit 60 in 6 seconds and take you all the way to a top speed of 175 miles per hour. That's fast for today's standards, let alone the 1970s. The BB was a true supercar. However, for all its positives, the BB had its drawbacks. One of the major complaints about the 365 was that it got hot, and I mean really hot. The cabin soaked up all the heat from the massive 12-cylinder engine, thanks to the front-mounted radiators and the piping location running through the cabin. This made the 365 rather uncomfortable on a longer drive, and like a sauna in hot weather, something that needed to change if they hoped to crack the US market. Step forward. The Testarossa. To solve the heat issues, Ferrari engineers needed to move the hot radiators back behind the driver. If they did this on the 365's body, the radiators would be sticking out of the car, slapping mailboxes as you drove down the street. Not ideal for the busy millionaire. To solve this, the engineers made the Testarossa bigger, not just lengthwise, but girthwise too. A whole 6 inches of extra girth to be specific. This also led to the now infamous side slats, another must-have for the US roads. 2 huge intakes that could swallow a cyclist whole would do some serious damage to your wallet, not to mention being inconvenient and illegal.
Is that legal?
No.
Whatever.
So the designers added the slats to tick a box without restricting airflow. A genius move and a beautiful one too. And the rest, they say, is history. Now, the Testarossa didn't just look fast, it was fast. 0 to 60 was dispatched in under 6 seconds, and you could hit 181 miles per hour with a big enough road and balls. But it was never a supercar by design. It was a fake supercar. Ferrari described it as a 300 km/h living room. It was comfy as a 180-mile-an-hour Italian car could be. It was easy to drive despite its enormous size. The Testarossa ticked every box imaginable for a GT car, but far fewer for an out-and-out supercar. If you needed more evidence that this supercar was not a supercar, we can take a look at that engine. Ignoring size and power outputs, the flat 12, like a flat 6 used by Porsche, has one huge advantage. It's compact. A flat engine has all its weight low down, and with no cylinder band sticking up, the engine can be laid pretty much on the ground, allowing the car to have a lower center of gravity, unless you're a Ferrari and you're making a GT car. If you are, you put the low flat 12 on top of the transmission, jacking it up and raising its center of gravity, the opposite to what a true supercar needs. This combination actually made the Testarossa a sales success. You got all the comfort of a GT car with the looks of a supercar, and the pace to dust off anyone else on the road. The perfect combination. It was also beautifully designed by Pininfarina. The design was so good, in fact, that unlike the Lamborghini Countach, the Testarossa needed no wings or splitters. The slippery design produced a drag coefficient of 0.36, significantly lower than the Lamborghini Countach's 0.42. This blend made the Testarossa a sales success straight out of the gate. It was such a desirable car that between its launch in 1984 and mid-1985, when US models began to arrive, impatient owners illegally imported close to 150 Euro Testarossas just so they could get their hands on it sooner, and a fair few made it through customs onto US soil. Such was the draw of this iconic Ferrari that owners were willing to risk jail time to get their hands on one. This wasn't a practice solely for the Testarossa, however. This great import market sprung up in the 70s, and the 365BB was part of it. Safety and emissions laws in the US at the time meant makers like Ferrari did not ship their V12s to America. The cost to get a 365BB to US spec was $14,000, a hefty premium in the 70s. This trend continued throughout the 80s, with cars arriving and being modified with no set standard due to staffing issues at regulators. That meant many cars, including the 365 and Testarossa, entered the US market in varying states of compliance. The fallout to this is still seen today, with the law being amended back in the 90s to ban cars unless they had a US spec or over 25 years old. Yes, you heard me. The skyrocketing price of JDM cars in the last decade is directly linked to, amongst others, the Testarossa. Be sure to hit the like button if you didn't know that, and subscribe if you did. Now, as it was in the 80s, it is today, some 40 years later. Those teenagers in the 80s and 90s who filled their walls with Countach and Testarossa posters are now in their 40s and 50s, and some of them now have the means to buy the very cars they once dreamed of. Fun fact, Testarossa means redhead in Italian. It came from the head colour of the engine, the red that we see in every modern-day Ferrari, and a throwback to iconic Ferrari race winners. Now, those 80s and 90s teenagers had a dream of a supercar worthy of their bedroom walls. What they would find from the base Testarossa would be a fast sofa with a mohawk. It's often best to never meet your heroes, and the dream of a supercar Testarossa is a perfect example. Despite its slippery body, advanced suspension, wide track and beefy tyres, the Testarossa never excited like a true Ferrari should. This was in part down to Enzo himself. An old man by this point, Enzo wanted his cars to be comfortable as well as fast. The Testarossa is an example of this blending of ideas. Modern-day Ferrari separated these ideas and can be seen in the lineup now, featuring GT cars like the A12 Superfast and out-and-out supercars like the 488 Pista. Separating the goals meant compromises like the Testarossa were a thing of the past. But it's not all doom and gloom for those that want a rip-roaring supercar with that 80s style. Ferrari didn't just make one version of the Testarossa, they made three: the Testarossa, the TR and the M. Each version was produced in smaller and smaller quantities: 7,000 Testarossas, 2,500 TRs and 501 Ms, with only 75 in the US. If you did want a more supercar-focused Testarossa, the TR would have you covered. The 512 TR had a bunch of changes over the standard Testarossa. The engine was lower to fix that center of gravity that made the original a soft, plushy cruiser. It also got new fuel injection and a new clutch, along with new brakes and suspension to make it a more engaging drive. The TR was the supercar people thought the Testarossa was, except it now had the handling credentials to back up its looks. Ferrari also made the 512M, the M standing for Modificata or modified. Legend has it, after a long night on the drink, a few Ferrari engineers picked up their pencils and proceeded to throw up all over the paper. Because of this, the M got new round taillights, which looked very bad, and maybe the biggest kick in the car guy nuts: the removal of the pop-up headlights. No, the Testarossa was no longer part of the club. It was, however, the last Ferrari to ever feature a flat 12-cylinder engine. So the Testarossa, it was a GT cruiser disguised as a supercar with a unique design that captured the hearts of teenagers and adults alike. A dream poster car that lived up in some ways to the hype, compromised but brilliant at the same time. The Testarossa is still rightly regarded as one of the most iconic Ferraris, much like the F40, which we've covered in this video here. The Prancing Horses stable is sure to live up to the dreams of the next generation of supercar lovers. But find out why it might not have ever happened in this video about the late great Enzo Ferrari. And whilst you're here, why not hit that like button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel for more great videos just like this.